Hey everybody, this is Matt Dickman of Techno Marketer, and this is another edition of Inside Out. Today I'm going to take a look at Yammer, which basically is a private, company-only version of Twitter. It's a ASP model, so Yammer hosts all of these different networks that people are able to set up, but you're able to put in some nice controls that can bring kind of a private version of Twitter without having to do a whole other kind of installation. And you can use that within your company, and you can control who has access. One thing to really keep in mind with this is that it is not behind any type of firewall, that conversations and information are susceptible possibly to someone getting a hold of that you may not want. So it's not 100% private, but it's a good way, just especially if you don't have a large population using Twitter, it's a good way to kind of get this in there. I think it has a ton of potential, which I'll talk about in a second. But just let me give you a little bit of an overview. And I'm using the FH Yammer group in here as my example. So what you'll see is, it looks exactly like what you would expect when you come to Twitter. You know, there's a message window in the middle, the familiar update button. Individuals have profile icons that are in here. I can say doing a video on Yammer, hit update, it goes into the timeline. Same type of thing, except you can reply in line, so you can hit reply and it'll actually be like a threaded conversation, which I think is something that Twitter is missing, that hopefully they add in soon. You can click through to individuals, so I'll go ahead and click through to Brendan, and it kind of gives his overall information, that kind of thing. You can look at members in general. So you can see who's there, who you're following, who's following you, look at invitations. You can invite members, and you can filter based on email address so that it only lets the domain of your company in. So you have to have something at yourdomain.com. You can create groups, which is actually new functionality. Like I created a FH Cleveland group, so you can have different business units or different offices have their own groups so that you can filter conversations like that. You can look at tags, so if you put in tags which have the hash symbol in front of them, the pound sign, it'll filter those out so you can see what conversations are happening about what topics, which I think is pretty cool. And it also strips out all of the links that are sent within messages, so it kind of leaves that here. It's just an interesting place to come back to as a dashboard, just to see what's being discussed. So when we look at kind of this overall picture of internal, using micromedia like this internally, I think it has huge potential. I think you're looking at knowledge management. Obviously I just showed you the links option, but you can see what's being discussed. You can look at it from a corporate perspective, and see how, if you're a global corporation, are there themes of conversation that are similar from Europe to the US, from Europe to Asia, from the US to Asia. And you might be able to spot trends ahead of when you would normally be able to, because you're listening to these conversations. They're all internal. Colleagues are talking back and forth. It's more centralized than instant messenger, which a lot of businesses use. It records everything, so obviously this is not a private instant message at all. This is for business, so that's a little bit of a difference. For me personally, it's a little bit tough because I use other services. Twitter is my service of choice, and it's not able to feed in, or it's not currently able to feed in my messages from Twitter and then let me know separately when people have replied to me on Yammer, which I think would be a huge benefit. But I also use my Twitter account professionally, as well as a little bit of personal, so I could see them not wanting to do that. But that's Yammer. There are a number of options that are out there. There are options where you install behind your firewall, which I talked about a couple posts ago. You can go back and look for that, as well as systems like Yammer, which there are more and more of that are popping up every day. This won the TechCrunch 50 award for best application, so definitely take a look at it. It's something to try. I think it's going to have more success when it's used in a company that does not have a big following or a big presence established in other micromedia. It definitely is an easy way to get people engaged in the space that aren't traditionally there, because the interface is so easy. There are BlackBerry clients, iPhone clients, that kind of thing for Yammer itself. So it's pretty extensive. It's just, I think, an integration issue to get the early adopters over to this. So that is this edition of Inside Out, and this is Yammer. If you have an idea for a future video that you'd like me to do, please just shoot me an email. It's mattdickman@gmail.com, or you can leave a comment. Thanks a lot. I'll talk to you soon.